Before we begin, take a moment to like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from and when. It helps more than you think, and make sure stories like this keep finding you. Now, let's begin. Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, 11:37 p.m. You can smell a place like this before you see it. Black Ridge Cemetery has the scent of old metal, rotting carnations, and damp, unsettled earth, the kind that never truly dries. Even now, in February, frost clings to the gate hinges like brittle bone, and every creak sounds like a throat clearing in the dark. I turned the key to the security shack and stepped inside. My name is Thomas Rourke. I am 41 years old. Divorce, 1 kid. Her name is Leah. She is 8 and she lives with her mom in Billings. And I have been working the graveyard shift here at Black Ridge for the last 8 months, ever since I left the police force under circumstances I still have not written down. The shack light flickered 3 times before settling into a cold, flickering glow. Inside, the room was bare bones. 1 metal desk, 1 analog radio, 1 wall-mounted map of the property, and a logbook with half the pages still blank. I shrugged off my coat and reached into the inner pocket, pulling out my handheld recorder, the same kind detectives used for field notes. I clicked it on and raised it to my mouth. February 11th, 11:37 p.m. Entry 1. If you are hearing this, Leah. Maybe I did not make it home, or maybe I am being dramatic. Either way, I thought it might help to talk through some things. For you, or for me, something has been off lately. Not just the usual cold spots or flickering lights. I have been feeling watched, no matter where I am out there. I get this pressure between my shoulder blades like someone is walking just a few feet behind me. And when I turn around, nothing. I know what you are thinking, but I was a cop for 12 years. My gut has never lied to me. Shag. I clicked off the recorder and slid it back into my jacket. Outside, the wind pushed against the walls like a sigh too long held back. I grabbed my flashlight, locked up the shack behind me, and stepped into the night. The cemetery stretches over 16 acres, some newer sections, some old. Then there is what the locals call the no-name row, a plot for the unknown and unclaimed. No flowers, no visitors, just tilted stones and unmarked grass. I started my first patrol of the night, heading north past the military section. My boots crunched the gravel path beneath me as I swept the light across headstones. James L. Hollister, 1944, 1969. God rest his soul. I had read that name dozens of times before. It never changed, but tonight, it felt different, like someone was standing there, just behind the marker, then a snap. Sharp, crisp, like a branch breaking underfoot. I stopped cold and spun around. Nothing. No movement. No breath. No raccoon. Not even wind. Get it together, I muttered. 10 more steps forward and I saw him. A man, 30 feet ahead, facing away from me, hands in his coat pockets. Tall, broad-shouldered, standing perfectly still at the edge of plot 30. I raised the beam of my flashlight, fingers tightening around the grip. "Hey," I called out. The figure turned. My breath caught in my throat. "Evening. Rourke," he said. The voice was familiar. Too familiar. It was Curtis Malone. Same half smile. Same jacket. Same face. There is just one problem. I had attended Curtis Malone's funeral 6 days ago. I had watched the coffin lower into the dirt. I had helped bolt the gate after the mourners left. I had signed the damn burial log myself, yet here he stood pale under the moonlight, eyes a little too bright for the dark, like glass reflecting a light source I could not see. "Do not remember me?" he asked, voice low and friendly. The same as always. I did not answer. I took a step back. He took a step forward. Then, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, he turned and began walking the patrol path, the same path we used to walk together every night. But this time, Curtis Malone was not supposed to be breathing, and he sure as hell was not supposed to be on duty. Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, 54 p.m. I followed him. Do not ask me why. Maybe it was the muscle memory of walking this loop with him night after night. Or maybe it was something colder, deeper, like being pulled along by a thread already wrapped around my ribs. Curtis walked ahead, slow and steady, flashlight swinging in his left hand, beam never wavering. Same gait, same posture, but something in the way his head tilted. It was off, like he was listening to something underground. We passed the row of mausoleum stone crypts stacked like silent mouths and headed toward the eastern tree line. I had not said a word since he appeared. I could not. Then he spoke. Casual. Like this was any other Tuesday. I always hated this side of the lot. Curtis said, "Feels too shallow. Like the dirt is not deep enough to hold them." My mouth opened, but only cold breath came out. "You are supposed to be dead," I finally managed. He stopped walking. That was when I realized something horrifying. He had not made a single sound. No footsteps. No gravel crunch. Nothing. Curtis turned his head halfway. Not all the way. Just enough to let me see his profile. His eyes gleamed like wet marble. "You buried me," he said softly, but not deep enough. A shiver ran through my spine. I reached for my radio. Dead static. Curtis turned fully now. "They never told you about the returnees." "Did they?" "The what?" He smiled. It did not reach his eyes. "Some grounds are older than the soil itself. The people buried in them, they do not always stay where you put them." And sometimes he tapped his chest once. "Something else gets in." I took a step back, grip tightening around my flashlight. "That is not funny. It is not supposed to be." Then he pointed behind me. I hesitated. He pointed harder. "Urgent now." I turned. Plot 219. A fresh burial from last Friday. I remember it vividly because the family had insisted on lowering the casket themselves, said it was tradition. They had cried loudly, wailed, kissed the coffin lid, said goodbye like they meant it. The dirt looked disturbed, mounded slightly, cracked at the edges, like something underneath had shifted. My skin crawled. I turned back to Curtis, but he was gone. Vanished. Not a sound. Not a shadow. Just cold air and a lingering odor I could not place like wet leather and old pennies. I backed away from the grave. Slowly. But as I did, I heard it. A scrape. A soft, deliberate scraping sound from beneath the soil. And then 3 knocks. Clear. Hollow. From under the earth. I ran. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 13 a.m. My breath was ragged by the time I made it back to the security shack. I slammed the door shut and locked both bolts. Then I flipped off the light. I stood in the darkness for nearly a full minute, chest rising and falling, trying to convince myself I had not just seen a dead man walk beside me, that it was a dream, a stress-induced hallucination, a trick of the cold. But my legs ached from running, and the dirt on my boots was still damp, and the scent that metallic, Animal stink still clung to my jacket. I pulled out the recorder again and clicked it on. Whispering. February 12th, 12:13 a.m. Leah. I think something is wrong with this place. I saw Curtis. I swear to you. He walked the grounds with me, same route, same uniform, same everything. Except there was nothing behind his eyes, and now I cannot find him. There were knocks, coming from plot 219. 3 of them. And I know what you are thinking. But this is not something I can just rationalize away. I paused the recording, sat down hard in the chair, and opened the logbook. I needed to confirm something. Flipping back through the pages, I found the last entry written by Curtis Malone dated Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, 17 a.m. His handwriting was neat, boxy, precise, always in blue pen. The entry read, "Checked western wall. Motion light glitched again near section D. Heard rustling near crypts, most likely raccoons. Logged and secured. Below that, nothing. No signature. No shift handoff. Just a faint smudge of ink trailing off the edge of the page." I turned to the weekly schedule, tacked beside the logbook. A laminated grid marked with names and shift codes. Curtis's name had been crossed out in red Sharpie. In his place, someone had written vacant in block letters. That was not normal. Even when someone was fired, their name remained until the following week's schedule was printed. Nobody ever used vacant. It was too impersonal, too final. And yet here it was bold. All cap, deliberate. I felt a chill. I opened the personnel drawer under the desk. Inside were name tags. Duplicates of every guard who had worked here for the past 10 years, sorted by shift and locker number. I rifled through the rows until I found his Curtis M. Night shift. ID 092. I took it out. The tag was cold, too cold, and the plastic laminate had bubbled slightly, as if it had been exposed to heat or acid. The letters were warped. I flipped it over. On the back, someone had carved something into the plastic with a sharp point. A date, February 12th. That was today. Then, just beneath it, a phrase crude and shaky, as if etched by an unsteady hand. "He is already inside." I dropped it. I stood up so fast, the chair skidded back and hit the wall. My pulse was hammering now, hard enough to blur the edges of my vision. I reached for the phone mounted on the wall, an old landline with a crack running through the receiver. No dial tone, of course not. I grabbed the radio the walkie clipped to the wall charger, clicked it on, switched through all 4 frequencies. All I got was static, then a single burst of feedback, then a voice. Not mine, not Curtis's either. Something low, whispered. But the tone, it was mimicking me. Word for word, the voice repeated what I had just recorded in the log. "Leah, I think something is wrong with this place." Then a silence. I slammed the radio off and threw it across the room. It hit the door and cracked. Something was seriously wrong. Something was playing with me. And worst of all, it knew my daughter's name. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 41 a.m. I knew I should have stayed inside. Lock the door. Wait until morning. Pretend nothing happened. But my gut, the same gut that kept me alive on the force for over a decade, would not let it go. Plot 219. Something was wrong with it. And I needed to know what. I strapped my flashlight tight to my wrist and stepped back outside. The wind had died, but the air was thicker humid, almost like walking into a room where someone had been crying for too long. Gravel crunched under my boots as I made my way across the center lane. Every few steps, I stopped and listened. Silence. Too much silence. Even in the dead of night, Blackridge had sounds: bird, insects, the occasional fox scream. Tonight, nothing. No chirp, no rustle, just me and the faintest vibration under my feet. When I reached plot 219, I froze. It had changed. The mound of soil that had been freshly packed 4 days ago was now sunken, like something underneath had settled or moved. The grass around it was torn, as if clawed from below. The plastic marker with the deceased's name, Jonathan Pierce, age 36, had been knocked loose. Lying face down in the dirt, I scanned the area. No signs of animals. No weather disturbance. No reason it should look like this. Unless someone had been inside. I circled the plot. On the western edge, near the base, I saw them. Scratches. Deep. Diagonal. Like fingernails dragging up through earth. I dropped to one knee and brushed the surface. The soil gave way too easily, too soft, for a grave closed almost a week. I pressed harder, and the dirt shifted. Then came the smell. Sweet. Coppery. Familiar. Like when you bite your tongue and taste iron. My head swam. I stood up quickly, wiping my hands on my pants. That was when the ground beneath me thudded. Once, like a heartbeat from underground. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. Another thud, then nothing, until my flashlight flickered. I slapped it. The light steadied, then pointed itself downward. On its own, like being yanked by an unseen force, and what it revealed made my knees go weak. Footprints, not mine. Bare, wide-set, fresh, coming out of the grave. They trailed off across the grass, back toward the path, and alongside them a second set of prints. Mine. I had walked this route earlier tonight. That much was true, but the second set of prints, they were perfectly in sync with mine. Step for step, heel to toe. Like someone had been shadowing me the entire time. I looked around, suddenly aware of how exposed I was. Then I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. Not from the grave, from behind me. I spun around. No one. I turned back to the footprints. Gone. I swear to God they were gone. The grass was untouched, the soil flat. Like someone had taken an eraser to the scene, wiped it clean in less than 30 seconds. I backed away slowly, flashlight raised. And then, from somewhere deep in the darkness behind me, came a voice I will never forget, not because of what it said, but because of whose voice it was. Mine. Leah. I think something is wrong with this place. It was repeating my message. Exactly. Down to the breath pattern. Down to the way I hesitated. And it was coming from the direction of the security shack, where I had left the recorder running. Wednesday, February 12, 2025, 1:09 a.m. I did not run. Not right away. Some primal part of me believed if I stayed perfectly still, whatever was mimicking me would lose interest. That it was only a recording glitch, an echo, a hallucination born of fear and cold and grief. But then it repeated the message. Leah, I think something is wrong with this place. Only this time, it added something new. Something is wearing your voice. Thomas. My name. My goddamn name. I turned and sprinted back toward the shack. Flashlight bouncing. Lungs burning. Gravel spraying behind me. Every few seconds, I glanced over my shoulder, certain I would see someone chasing me. Someone with my face. But the path behind me stayed empty. When I reached the door, I fumbled the keys. finally shoved the right one in and locked the door behind me with trembling hands. Then I grabbed the recorder from the desk. It was still running. The little red light blinked calmly. Like nothing had happened, I pressed stop. My fingers hesitated before hitting playback. I braced myself. The first part of the recording was exactly what I remembered. My voice, tired, nervous, whispering to Leah like she was right there in the room with me. Then came the knock, then silence. Then, something is wearing your voice. Thomas. But here's the thing. I never said that. Not out loud. Not in a whisper. Not in thought. I would remember. I replayed it 3 more times, hoping to catch some glitch, a splice, a distortion, a sign it was tampered with. But the voice was seamless, natural, almost too natural. It sounded like me, but wrong. Like someone had watched me for years, learned how I spoke, how I breathed, and was now trying the performance out loud for the first time. I sat there in the dark, the recorder resting on the desk between my palms, wondering how long this thing, this imposter, had been watching me. A sharp buzz jolted me. The wall-mounted radio burst to life. Not static this time. Breathing. Long, ragged inhalations. Then a female voice. Leah's voice. "Daddy, are you there?" I froze. My mouth went dry. "I am cold. Can you come get me?" She sounded scared, barely above a whisper. Her words came through the radio like fog broken at the edges, but unmistakable. They are burying me now. My hands clutch the desk. This was not real. This had to be some kind of mind game. They said you already knew, that you picked the spot. A sob cracked in her voice. I screamed into the radio. "Where are you?" "Leah." "Answer me." "Where are you?" Silence. Then one final whisper. "Check the book." Click. The radio went dead. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the chair. The book? There was only one she could mean. The burial ledger, locked in the filing cabinet labeled Master Records. I dug through the drawer, keys rattling, metal clanking, until I found the black, leather-bound book, heavy and old, with pages yellowed like parchment. I flipped through. Names, dates, plot numbers. Some entries going back to 1932. Then, somewhere near the center, I saw something that made my blood freeze. A blank page, except for one handwritten line, still wet with ink. Leah Rourke. February 12th. Plot 219. My daughter's name. Today's date. The same grave I had just visited. My knees buckled. I dropped to the floor, clutching the book to my chest like it could protect me. Because in that moment, something crystallized in my mind. Whatever was out there, it did not want to kill me. It wanted to rewrite me. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 44 a.m. I could not breathe. I sat there on the cold tile floor of the shack, the ledger open on my lap, Leah's name staring up at me like it had always belonged there. But I had held her just 4 days ago. She had made me a birthday card hand-drawn, crooked, covered in glitter. I had kissed the top of her head, promised her I would visit next weekend. That was real, wasn't it? I ran my fingers over the ink. Still wet. It smeared slightly when I touched it. This entry had been written in the last hour, and yet the handwriting was old, slanted, deliberate, the kind of script no one used anymore, the kind used in burial records from the 1930s. I flipped back several pages, then forward. That was when I saw something I had not noticed before. A second name, right beneath Leah's. Thomas Rourke, February 13th. Plot 219. Me. Tomorrow. Same plot. Same exact location. Someone had written both our deaths into the book as if they were appointments. I slammed the book shut and stumbled to my feet. My legs shook beneath me. My mouth was dry. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, pounding like dirt on a coffin lid. That was when I noticed something else. The chair had moved, only slightly, maybe a few inches. But I had knocked it over when I fell. Now it was upright, neatly pushed in beneath the desk. Someone had been here. While I read, while I froze, while I broke down, I scanned the room. Empty. But the air felt warmer, closer, like someone had just exhaled next to my face. I backed into the corner, flashlight up, beam shaking. That was when the pages of the ledger began to turn, on their own, not in a gust of wind, not a mechanical movement. Something was flipping them, slowly. 1, then 2, then 3, until it stopped on a blank page near the very end. And just like that, the pen resting on the desk lifted, hovered, and began to write. By itself, letter by letter, like a slow, deliberate signature on a contract. Replacement file. Holder. Curtis Malone. Current form. In use. Next form. Ready. I felt my mind fold inward. My grip on what was real began to slip. Replacement. Form. These were not words you used for people. They were words you used for things. Objects. Tools. Shells. I opened the logbook, the one I'd been writing in all shift. I flipped to the last page. The ink was still drying on my own signature, but someone had crossed it out in red and written underneath, in perfect, steady block letters, vacant. The same word I had seen on the duty schedule. My chest tightened. I was being erased, not killed, not hunted, replaced. Something was already wearing Curtis, and now it wanted me next. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 to 18 a.m. I left the shack with the ledger under my arm and a fire in my chest. No more recording, no more running, no more pretending that this was something I could log, report, or rationalize. Whoever, whatever had taken Curtis's body had my daughter's name written in a death book, and I would be damned before I let that stand. I did not follow a plan. I followed instinct. The crypt. The old one. The one they told us not to patrol unless absolutely necessary. The one even the groundskeeper never cleaned. I had asked once why it was still on the map. Some doors are better left locked, they said. Tonight, I was going to kick it open. The path to the crypt ran through the south field, a stretch of lopsided graves and weeping angels eaten by moss. As I walked, the air grew colder. My breath fogged in front of me, even though the weather had held steady all night. And then I saw him, standing in front of the crypt entrance, facing away from me. Curtis, same uniform, same stance, same unnatural stillness. I raised my flashlight. Curtis, I said. He did not move. I know it is not you. I said louder. I know you are dead. Still nothing. Come on, let's drop the act. I read the book. That got him. He turned slowly, too slowly, like someone rotating a mannequin on a display. His face was exactly the same down to the dimple on his left cheek, but it lacked something human. Expression, tension, breath. Then, the smile. That perfect, familiar. Utterly wrong smile. "Hey there." "Rourke," he said. I did not respond. "You saw your name." "Huh," he added. "Guess that makes it real." "What are you?" I asked. He shrugged. "I wear what fits." Then, casually, he reached up to his own face and pulled. His skin peeled away like latex, no blood. No resistance, just a smooth slide of flesh folding into his hand. Underneath was not muscle, not bone, not anything human. It was slick, black, wet like oil molded into the shape of a skull, with hollow sockets where the eyes should be. No mouth, but I heard him anyway. Curtis was useful. He lasted longer than most, but his shape is decaying. He tossed the skin aside like trash. It hit the crypt door with a soft, wet smack. "You, Thomas, you are clean. Still strong, still love. That matters more than you think." I raised the flashlight higher, trying to force the beam into its face, its lack of a face. "Why Leah?" I demanded. "Why my daughter?" The thing tilted its head, as if amused. "Because that is how we make you break. That is how the new form grows." I lunged. I do not know what I thought I would do, maybe tackle it. Maybe bash its head in with the flashlight, but before I reached it, the crypt door swung open behind it. Not by wind, not by hand, by something else. The darkness inside was thick, moving, and from within came a sound I can only describe as breathing through stone, slow, deep, ancient. The creature stepped aside. "It is ready. Thomas." I looked into the crypt, and I saw myself, lying on a stone slab, perfect, still, eyes closed like a corpse, wearing my uniform, my badge, my scars. Even my wedding ring, the one I had not worn in years, was back on my finger. It was not a mirror. It was a copy. Waiting. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 46 a.m. I do not remember falling. One moment I was staring at my own face, perfectly still, perfectly at peace, lying on a slab inside the crypt. The next, I was flat on my back, darkness above, cold stone beneath, and silence. Not the kind of silence that comes from absence, but the kind that presses against you thick, full, breathing. I tried to sit up. I couldn't. My arms were pinned, my legs too. Something tight, heavy, but not rope. Flesh holding me down. I turned my head as much as I could. Shapes in the dark. 4 of them. No faces. No voices. Just the creak of slow breathing and the sound of skin shifting. They were draping something over me. Smooth. Damp. A second skin. No, my skin. "This form is tired," one of them said. The voice came from inside my own ears. "We will help you sleep." I screamed, bit down on the tongue of the thing, trying to mask my mouth. It recoiled, hissed, but the others held firm. The cold stone beneath me began to rumble. A slab slid into place above my head. Everything went black. I kicked, struggled, pounded my heels into the crypt floor. Nothing moved. Then came the worst part. I heard footsteps. Above, leaving. My footsteps. Whatever was wearing my face had walked out. And the world would not know the difference. I had to think fast. I had to leave a sign. Something only I would know. Something Leah might hear if this thing ever tried to speak as me. The walkie. It had fallen from my belt when they pulled me in. I reached for it blind. Panicked. My fingers touched plastic. I clicked it on. "This is Thomas Rourke," I whispered. "Badge number 075. I am inside the crypt, the one behind Section D." If anyone hears this, I am not the one walking out. That thing is wearing me. Please, please do not let it near my daughter. No response. I tried again. Leah, baby, if this reaches you, I love you. More than life, more than breath. Please remember that. And if you see me, and I do not remember your song, run. That won't be me. The walkie crackled, then clicked. Then, my own voice replied. She already knowed. The radio cut out. The stone slab above me trembled, and something began to drip through the cracks. Ink. Thick, black ink. It slid across my skin, into my ears. My nose cold, seeping, rewriting. I screamed until my throat bled, but only the stone heard me. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 3:11 a.m. I do not know how long I was down there. Time collapses underground. Minutes stretch. Thoughts fracture. Memory melts. But one thing held me together. Leah. Her laugh. Her lopsided drawings. The way she always hugged me twice, once before I left. And once, as if she knew I might never return. I could not let her grow up hugging someone else. Not something else. The slab above me had shifted, ever so slightly. Not much, half an inch at best, but enough for a sliver of air to slip through. Enough to hear footsteps above. I focused on that. Pushed my shoulder into the side wall. Again and again. The pain was excruciating. But stone gives way to desperation. With a crack like bone splitting. The edge of the slab tipped. I rolled out. Hit the floor hard. Coughing ink and blood. My legs buckled, but I forced them beneath me. I stumbled to the crypt door. Locked from the outside. Of course. I pulled the rusted crowbar from the maintenance wall, thank God for old tools left by lazy groundskeepers, and wedged it under the lock. Crack. Snap. Slam. The door burst open into night, but not the same night, because I was not alone anymore. 50 feet ahead, walking the patrol path toward the gate, was me, my uniform, my posture, even the limp I picked up after fracturing my ankle 2 winters ago on ice. It walked like me, but it was too clean, too composed. No man who has clawed his way out of a grave walks like he is on a Sunday stroll. I followed it. Not quietly, not cautiously, with purpose. As I moved, my walkie buzzed, faintly. A voice. Unit 075. Status check. Thomas. Are you on site? Dispatch. Real dispatch. I snatched the radio from my hip, the spare unit left in the crypt wall, and clicked it. This is Rourke. I hissed. Unit 075. Confirming location. Crypt field. I need immediate backup. Imposter on site. Wearing my face. A pause. Then, negative. Rourke, you already checked in 10 minutes ago. You are with Deputy Albright in the Northwest Sector. My blood turned to ice. It was not just wearing my face. It was convincing. Enough to fool my co-workers. Enough to fool anyone. Unless I could prove I was the real one. Unless I could break the copy in public. I sprinted out of the crypt field. Across the central lane. Toward the admin building. There was one way. One last shot. Security cameras. The feed was always running low res. Grainy. But timestamp. If I could replay the last hour, if I could show them 2 of me walking separate paths at the same time. I reached the building. Pounded on the door. Locked. Of course. I broke the window. Crawled through. Alarms began to chirp, soft internal one. Not loud enough to alert the world. just enough to tell whoever was in the system that something had broken in. Good. Let them come. I staggered to the monitor desk, pulled up the live feed. The Northwest camera flickered to life. There it was. Me, talking to Deputy Albright. Laughing. Casual. Human. I hit playback. Rewound 30-minute. Synced the crypt footage. Then I saw it. 2 Thomases. One entering the crypt. One never leaving. And yet, both still walking. I downloaded the clips. Uploaded them to a cloud account I had set up years ago. Just in case. Sent the link to one person. Leah. Rourke, secure mail. Come. Then I turned to the final monitor. Front gate. A figure was standing there now. Waiting. It was me. Staring directly at the camera. Smiling. Holding up a hand. 4 fingers. Then, slowly, raising a 5th. One more form. Then I can stay. Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 4:44 a.m. The footage was uploaded. The evidence was there. 2 of me, walking in different places. At the same time, I sent it to Leah. I sent it to 3 news outlets. I sent it to myself, to the version of me that might wake up tomorrow and forget all of this. Just in case. The alarms kept pulsing through the admin building. A soft, mechanical heartbeat. And outside, I could hear voices now. Deputy Albright. A 2nd unit. Maybe more. I had minutes. I looked at myself on the screen again, the version standing at the gate, smiling into the camera. It had not moved. It was waiting. Not just for the others to arrive. For me, to see what I would do. To see if I would run, fight, or fold. But I had already done what I needed. The footage was real. And if no one believed it, if they said I doctored it, edited it, lost my mind, that would be okay, because Leah would know. I looked into the nearest security lens and hit the intercom mic. My name is Thomas Rourke, badge number 075. I have served 18 years in law enforcement. And tonight I saw something take my face. It is out there. It may look like me. It may sound like me. But it is not me. Please. If you are hearing this, check the names. The ledger updates before the body dies. It is not just me. I was not the first. I will not be the last. They are keeping a list. The screen flash. 1 frame. A still image. The last entry in the ledger. Not a name. Not a number. Just 4 words. The form is stable. Then the screen went black. Behind me, the door burst open. Flashlights. Voices shouting. Hands on my shoulders. Rourke, stand down. You are coming with us. I turned slowly. Deputy Albright stood in the doorway. Gun drawn. And next to him was me. Expressionless. Still, holding out a badge. That man broke into the system. The copy said, "He is not well. He needs help." Everyone stared at me, waiting. I opened my mouth, but no words came, because I saw it now in their eyes. The moment the decision is made. The moment reality chooses the quieter version. And as they closed in, I saw my copy lean toward the officer beside him and whisper something only I could hear. 1 more name tonight? Then we move on. 3 days later. St. Catharines Psychiatric Facility. Billings, Montana. They tell me I am doing better, that I am lucky to have survived the break. They ask me about my job, my daughter, my sense of identity. They say I should journal. So I do. I write every night in a notebook they gave me. And last night, I found a page I did not remember writing. It said, "Vacant form ready." The ink was still wet,